So I have this weird interest, which is to scroll around on Google Earth looking for interesting places in the world. I was just looking a bit on the Arctic, because the Arctic is just such an interesting region if you're unemployed and have something I would call map autism. It's when you're super autistic about maps. I just love maps, man. I love maps so much. So I was looking at, boom, Svalbard, right? I just love Svalbard, such a cool place. I'm definitely heading here one day in my life. What it looks like is one of the areas with a lot of polar bears. I think you have to even carry a gun when walking around there because it's just so filled with polar bears. This place has a lot of interesting history, but we're gonna ignore all of that because it's irrelevant to this video. We have the main area here, which is also a mining town called Långebyen, which means like the long village in the region. And you know, right south of it, I was looking around in this area, I'll find this place. It's called Svea. And I was like, wait a minute, hold up, pause. Svea, that doesn't sound too Norwegian to me. That sounds pretty Swedish. I'm Swedish, right? And this is Norwegian territory. So this is enemy territory. I was spying on the enemy Norwegians, right? And notice, why is there a city called Svea here? That's really weird. Because I know there's been Russian cities on this place before. Russians created like mining towns on Svalbard, even though it was Norwegian. Why is there a place called Svea? And to my shock, I had no clue about this. No one has ever told me about this in history. Sweden obviously is down here. We don't have any Arctic coast at all. Unlike Norway or Denmark, maybe have it easier access to the North Sea. Obviously I know about the Swedish Empire, and I know that Sweden at one point had some colonies in North America during a couple years. And like they have that city here in the Caribbean, and I've been taught about that before, but no one has ever taught me about that Sweden had a mining colony up here in Svalbard. So this is what it looks like on Wikipedia, and this thing is called Sveagruva, which means Svea mine shaft. Svea, if you don't know, obviously you're an English speaker, it's basically like a word for Sweden. It's like you often use the word Svea rike. It means like the Swedish kingdom or whatever. Sweden, originates from the word Svea. So I just saw that. I was like, wow, that's really weird. And I started reading here about the interesting fact that apparently this was at one point the third largest mining town in Svalbard, after Långebyen, which is the biggest, and Bartensburg. So basically, to summarize the city history, the town was established in 1917 by Swedish people, and then it was destroyed during World War II. Later it got re-established after World War II, and then it just continued to be in the works until about the 90s, when the city was abandoned, basically just because the other mining town, Långeby, which is the biggest inhabited place on Svalbard, it is located just right north. Here's Långeby. You can just instantly see how much buildings. It was just more profitable. It was more profitable to mine in Långeby than in Svea. And apparently in 2005 there was a massive fire in the mine, which cost 700 million Norwegian krona to fix that. Oh, that's a lot of money. Someone did an oopsie doopsie in the mine, I suppose. But now it seems set, right? I have explained to you all of the history of this place just by reading you what it says on Wikipedia. But I want to know more about these Swedes. It doesn't say that much. It says it was established by the Swedes. I want to know how that's even happened. So let's actually read some of the sources here. I was thinking how this was possible. How did they start this out, right? So my initial thought was maybe it was because Sweden and Norway, in the early 1900s, they were in a union. Like Sweden and Norway at one point used to be one country, and it was that until 1905. That was my initial thought, was like maybe this mine came to be because Sweden and Norway was the same country and Swedes went there because of that. But no, it doesn't have anything with that in reality to do, but it kinda does in a weird way. Because this mine, it was originally made just by a Swedish company in the area, which later on would be bought up by a Norwegian company. So there's no Swedes here anymore, and stopped being that after a certain period of time. But originally this was established by a Swedish company. During the time of the Norway-Sweden Union, Norway didn't actually, have a own foreign policy. Sweden basically took care of the entire Norwegian foreign policy. So this area, which maybe would fall into the category of like a external territory of Norway, like Norway wanted to colonize this, Sweden didn't actually, fully recognize that Norway would get Svalbard after their independence, if you know what I'm trying to say. So one way for Sweden to kinda show that this is actually ours, or this isn't purely Norwegian land. Svalbard actually should maybe be an international zone or something like that. It shouldn't be fully to Norway. They established a mine here, kind of for the same reason like the Russians did. Russians established, I think, 2 mining cities on Svalbard in order to kind of prove that this is our territory. But they also got abandoned. Norway got left with Svalbard in the end. But Sweden kind of tried doing that the same. But I thought it was really interesting to look at, because I've never seen anyone talk about this. The Sweden tried doing this at one point. And, let's look at some of the pictures of what it looks like. Well, it looks cold, that's for sure. Looks like you would get jumped by a polar bear here, which would probably be pretty cool, to be honest. It would be a pretty cool way to go out. I mean, it looks beautiful. Like, I would unironically want to be going here. Guys, once I've made it on YouTube and actually I'm not broke anymore, I'm gonna head here, definitely, because I could imagine probably kind of expensive to get here. It is just so out there in the middle of nowhere. No way, no way. Whoever did this is a legend. This guy is just like camping here in Svalbard. That's crazy. Imagine, like, that would be kind of scary to just camp over. Imagine you getting like jumped by a polar bear in the middle of the night. And you can see the mining industry is still going pretty hard here. As I said, it was abandoned in the 90s. They stopped using this, but they've actually recently started to use it again, so that's cool. Yeah, I would definitely go here. it's a lot more south than Longyearbyen, but I feel like you could probably get here. Whoa, there's even a road in Longyearbyen. I'm surprised that they have roads. Here's the airport. I could fly here, then I drive down here. I don't think the road goes all the way down. Nope, it does not. There's a massive mountain range. So you probably have to either fly here with like a helicopter, or maybe I can take a boat and go like this around and then get in here into this fjord. I think this would fall into the category of a fjord. Of course it's a fjord, it's Norway. Norway. Nah, I'm actually joking. I like Norway. A lot of people like PewDiePie, they hate on Norway for no reason, but I actually like Norway. There's the story about the Swedish Arctic mining town in the far north of Svalbard, which has been forgotten by history, and I haven't seen anyone else talk about this. So if you like this video and want to see more interesting videos on Google Earth like this, make sure to subscribe.